Police waiting outside, and they can hear gunfire inside the school, and they start demanding that police go in, and they don't. And they say this is video of that.
Is the chief executive officer of this corporation called the United States.
Grand Rising, brothers and sisters. This is Walt Smith coming at you live with the Black News Network. We're broadcasting a little bit earlier today because in about 30 minutes there are other things got to take place. We are from the desk of the emissary. This is the best Black News Network there is. The real voice of Black U.S.A. broadcasting on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. I would like to ask you to go to Facebook and do a like. I would also like to ask you to go to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube page. Today we're going to talk about some things that are a little bit different from what we used to. I got an echo and I've been trying to work on that. I don't know why, but that's the way it is. I hope you can handle the echo today. You know, it is January 2023. It is time for the Martin Luther King March. And when we get around to the Martin Luther King March, you know, it's about hype. There's a couple of things I want to tell you about it. There's some transportation set up for you to catch the bus down to the march, which is to start at 10 o'clock at the very same place it always starts, and it'll end up at Pitt McSullivan. But the start is at the MLK Elementary School, 10 o'clock. You can catch a bus if you'd like from 8 to 10 a.m. at the Freeman Coliseum right there on Houston Street. That bus stop, you can probably park and ride there too. 12 to 3:30 p.m. It'll give you a free ride back to the Freeman Coliseum, and the other place is at St. Philip's College at the corner of Mittman and Montana. On the corner of Mittman and Montana. That's where you can pick up a bus to ride down to the Martin Luther King March. You know, we've always fussed and said that this is the largest march in the United States. And by virtue of this being the largest march in the United States, there's got to be a certain thing that we should do to make it a little bit better for all of us. I don't know if you know about the show, if you know about Dream Week. Dream Week is something that paralleled the Martin Luther King March about 10 years ago. And it seemed to have taken off and started to get funding from the city of San Antonio to represent the Martin Luther King March or the week. Now, I did a little research on what Dream Week actually brings to the city. Now, the first thing I found out about is an opening ceremony, which will be on the 13th, this Friday. This Friday, with Peter Judge Sakai as the guest speaker, if you can push out $65 for a ticket, as much as $1,250 for a corporate ticket, $65 for an individual ticket, and $1,250 for a corporate level ticket. And this is the kickoff ceremony for Dream Week. Now, can anybody tell me what does this have to do with the Martin Luther King March? It sounds like a for-profit event to me with a prominent guest speaker of our city who doesn't realize that he's being used to line the Dream Week's machine pocket. You know, I thought about this from the beginning when I first saw Dream Week come upon the scene, because initially they took half of the Martin Luther King budget, the March budget, to fund Dream Week. Now the city is paying Dream Week to put on Dream Week, and Dream Week is getting paid for putting on Dream Week from everybody else. Now, if you ain't putting nothing in Dream Week's show pocket, you ain't doing nothing with Dream Week. They're not going to recognize you or hold an event at your facility. First of all, you have to be able to put something in show's pocket for you to get in on that little situation that they got going. Then on the 13th, they got a storytelling situation, and not a black person nowhere to be found on this damn storytelling thing. And the title of it is "The People Could Fly." A bunch of bullshit, if you ask me. Maybe you didn't ask me. It's going to be at the Carver Cultural Center. And my point is, I just hate to see how people manipulate the city out of money that's supposed to be designated for the betterment of the black people in this community, but they take that money and they make it for the betterment of themselves. And that's exactly what I've seen here in the city of San Antonio. So Dream Week is a bunch of bullshit, and it's a farce, and it's taken away from what the Martin Luther King Commission is trying to do to promote that Martin Luther King March. There's a lot of people on that Martin Luther King Commission, and it's the money that the city give for it. It should be dedicated to what's supposed to be happening there for that march. But we say it's the largest march, but it has the fewest amount of black people in the country. Black people don't march no more. You got the Mexicans, you got the LGBTQTs, you got the HEBs, you got the Hulks, you got the corporates, which is what they are doing, is finding corporate sponsors, and they're going out there marching as if they're doing some civil service or civil justice for the community. That is something that we have to contend with, and that is something that we've been doing for a long time when it came to the city of San Antonio. So again, I'm telling you that this Dream Week versus the Martin Luther King March stuff is wrong. Dream Week is not there to promote the Martin Luther King ceremony. Speaking of that Martin Luther King ceremony leading up to the march, on the 15th, which is Sunday, they are going to have a wreath-laying ceremony on the corner of Houston Street and New Braunfels. Now, they spent $625,000 on a 2020 bond package, I think 2019 bond package, to renovate that whole little plot of land right there by the Martin Luther King statue. Now, if you're going to spend over $500,000 to renovate a quarter acre of land, that ain't no bigger than somebody's lot. A quarter acre of land for $625,000. And if you look at the work, you can honestly say that the work done on that plaza was probably worth $100,000, if that much. So what happened to the other $400,000 or $500,000? But then at the same time, when you ask the question, why is that Munchkin statue ain't been upgraded or replaced, there's no answer. The only answer that you hear is that there was not enough money in the bond package. What the hell do you mean there's not enough money in the bond package to redo that statue? Now, and then you go all the way back to 1981 when the statue was placed there. You find out who designed it. Mr. Torres designed it. He was approached by Reverend Callis and asked to create a model or create a statue for that plaza. Because if you don't remember, the march is the end right there at that intersection. So now, here it is 2023, and that statue is still there from 80, 90, 2000, 2010, 2020. Going on 40 years, that statue has been sitting there. It is time for the city of San Antonio to quit bullshitting people and stop sending money over to build a damn trail, but do something with that statue and upgrade the statue and make it to a realistic version of Martin Luther King Jr. Because that statue is not realistic. It's not realistically formed. It's not realistically in height. It's not realistically in width. It just does not represent well. It is a statue, and it was a great achievement to get that statue placed by the city of San Antonio black population. But the statue needs to be replaced. The same with that damn sign going over the bridge, over the train tracks, headed towards 35. That sign been up there over 20 years. And the city just seems to drive over that damn hill all the damn time and act like they don't see it. That shit is faded out, it's ugly, and it needs to be replaced. Why is it that somebody got to tell somebody to replace this shit? You know that it's time for it to get upgraded or to get redone, but yet you rather spend money on bullshit like a quarter-inch layer of asphalt placed on top of the streets to make them look good, but they still full of damn holes. San Antonio, you got to do better. I did some more studying on some things that are very important to black in America. It's something that we have to understand about. Why is race such an important factor to us? I mean, if you're a millionaire, if you got plenty of money, you just don't understand the struggle of people who live paycheck to check. You don't understand that struggle. You don't even understand the struggle of people that are homeless. You don't understand that there's so many things that are very important. And it's definitely how you treat people of color in your community. You can't keep demolishing a homeless encampment and thinking that they're going to go somewhere else, because as soon as you tear that encampment down and take all their shit, they're going to come right back and build it again, and you'll be doing the same shit next year over again. And you keep repeating these cycles of bullshit and lying like you want to eliminate homelessness. You're coming up with places like Haven for Hope, talking about you doing all these things, but the people in Haven for Hope are doing for themselves rather than doing for the people. All of these little agencies need an oversight committee to go around and see what the hell they doing. From Dream Week to Haven for Hope to all these damn things, Soldiers, Angels, they all need an oversight committee to see what's going on with this taxpayers' money that's being donated for charitable work. It ain't getting done. It's unbelievable that 20 years later, you still got the same damn problem at a greater level that you had 20 years ago. That's what's happening here. You know, Damar Hamlin suffered a heart attack on the football field for the Buffalo Bills, and he's recovering slowly. But if it wasn't for that defibrillator, he probably wouldn't have made it. That defibrillator saved his life. So when you're out and about, you're at the malls, you're at the shopping center, grocery stores, most of these places have defibrillators on hand. Even the city buses have defibrillators on hand. It's up to you to learn how to use that defibrillator. It is too simple to screw it up. You can't screw up the use of the defibrillator. The thing is, you got to know that it's there to treat a person who may have had a heart attack. You open it up, you stick on the plastic pads exactly where it tells you to stick them, and then you allow that machine to read the vitals. It's like a EKG on that patient right away, and then it tells you what to do next. It tells you whether to stand clear and hit the red button, or it tells you that they don't need to be hit the electrified. It tells you, but you just have to be willing to take it and apply it to save someone's life. So most of the places have defibrillators, and I suggest you learn how to use it. Back then, they used to call us Negroes or colored. And they called us Negroes or colored because they wanted us to have a designation. And that designation for Negroes or colored was never going to be what it actually is. Now, on record in the United States of America, we have no distinction. We have no distinction. African American is a term brought to life by Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson introduced us as African Americans. I think it was 1980. We have no significant root to African American. It is not a documented nationality or race in the United States. You cannot find it in any governmental document, but you can always find it on somebody's application. We are not black. We're not black, but you can always find black on somebody's application. Now, black came to life back in the 14th century, in the 14th century Europe. And if you've been to Europe, especially, I'm going to talk about what I know for a fact, Nuremberg, in the chapels over there, you see the murals on the wall, the glass people where they make the murals. I don't know what they call that. But a lot of those people are black people, and they are Moors. And the Moors were the one who helped establish the Catholicism all throughout Europe. But before all of this, there was the Spanish Inquisition. Now, a lot of people can hear the word Spanish Inquisition all the time, but many people don't know what the Spanish Inquisition was. It was a purity of blood. It was when the Catholic Church decided that it was for a pure white race only religion. That's what Catholicism was. And how did they decide to do it? Well, when they say purity of blood, they organize it to keep the Jews out. This was the first wave. The second wave was to kick out the Moors who were already there. So, in other words, take over what they had built and make it theirs. It was power. You either convert or you would be killed. Over 8,000 people were burned at the stake, and that includes Jack DeMolay. Some of you may know who that is. Tens of thousands were forced to leave before 1490. They were forced to leave Europe and Spain and the Mediterranean. If you had Mala de Sarga, black Jewish blood, Mola de Sangra, black Jewish blood, you were ostracized. You had to be out. Jews and Moors could not even participate in public office. They could not hold an elected seat. They could not run for anything. They couldn't even vote. So if you were a Jew, if you were a Moor, in other words, if you were black, you had to go. The Spanish Inquisition used the Crusaders to enforce their laws. And how did they enforce their laws? By killing you if you didn't convert. You had a choice. If you didn't convert, you were going to get the hell out of there. When it came to the Spanish getting rid of the Moors, the Spanish Inquisition focused on Moors. Even though they had already focused on Jews, now they're focusing on Moors. They used the Jews to help them focus on Moors. That's how they got rid of the Moors, because they teamed up with the Jews to get rid of the Moors. And then once the Moors were gone, now it was time for them to kick the Jews out. So when it came to race of people, most of this distinguishment of people of different origins and color came about with the Spanish Inquisition. You ever notice how black people wait so long to become really famous? Most of our actors today, our black actors, are older actors. Samuel L. Jackson, Denzel Washington, Angela Bassett, and along that line of actors. They are mostly older people, and they became really famous when they were in their 30s and 40s and 50s. They didn't have a whole lot of a start to begin their life. And the reason I'm saying that is because what made them famous is perseverance. Perseverance made them famous. And if they didn't persevere in what they believed in and the pursuit of what made them happy, they would not have made it to the success that they are today. So Angela Bassett, my hat's off to you being inducted into the Golden Globe or whatever else that is that they induct y'all into. Congratulations on that. It is still undetermined what we will be called here in the United States of America. I mean, until the federal government take an active stand on clarifying what they want black people in America to be titled as, we'll never have a nationality. And that's really what it boils down to. We don't have a nationality. We are just people. We're like immigrants in a country, but the only difference is we have citizenship. and they can't take that away from us. We have citizenship in the United States of America. And in order for us to really define and refine who we are, we're going to have to solidify our nationality. Right now, we don't have a nationality. We're color people, we're Negroes, we're African, we're African American, we're Haitian, we're Panamanian, we're part of every nation there is on the planet. You find black people everywhere, but you don't find white people everywhere. You find black people in the whitest society. You find black people in the darkest society. It is so difficult for us to become all we can be when the entire world turned their back on black Americans. The people that are descendants of slaves right here in America, we have to stand forward and lean forward in the trenches and make people know who we are. And if you continue to tell people that you're black, you continue to tell people that you're African American, you might as well be told that the only recognized race for your kind of people is Negro and color. That's it. You can look this up. I'm just telling you the facts that I found after doing the research. You're either a Negro or you're colored. You're not black and you're not African American. Those two are just cliche names that sound good at the time of the moment or at the momentum of the nation. You know, Black Power was solidified by Stokely Carmichael and Huey P. Newton. They kind of made that something that James Brown wanted to sing about. In 1863, people started using the word black as a identifier for our color. But these are just little tidbits of things that I want you to know. Bobby Seals, Huey P. Newton, Stokely Carmichael, all part of the Black Panthers and Black Power during the 1966. When they started to capitalize the word black, they did that to start to make it as a race. But we all know there's only one race, that's the human race. But there are so many other things that have to be considered when you say there's only one race. Roy Wilkins, he used to be the NAACP president, condemned the use of using the word black. Martin Luther King didn't like it either. And like I said, African American was introduced by Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson said, "We prefer to be called black." Just to recap on some of the things I've covered already. Martin Luther King March versus Show Dream Week. Martin Luther King March, buses will pick up from 8 to 10 a.m. at the Freeman Coliseum, and then at the Montana and Midman over by St. Phillips from 8 to 10. And they'll drop you off at those locations from 12 to 3:30. And that's when they pick you up at Pittman Sullivan Park. That's where they'll pick you up from. Some of the things that Dream Week has got going on, they got a kickoff breakfast ceremony on the 13th. It'll cost you $65 as an individual to go to this bullshit meeting. And it'll cost you as much as $1,250 if you want to register your corporation. It is for profit. It is not in line with what needs to be happening with Martin Luther King. This is totally inappropriate to me, and people in the city see this shit happening, and it's almost like, oh, okay, that's a good thing. And then they make an appearance there, solidifying that it's a good thing. But it's a bunch of bullshit, taking money from the people of San Antonio trying to do some charitable work. They got a storytelling ceremony at the Carver Cultural Center called The People Could Fly. Ain't got shit to do with black people. And ain't no black people participating in the storytelling. So these are just some of the differences in what's happening with MLK and Dream Week. I really hope that they shut that shit down. Dream Week really ain't doing shit for nobody but Dream Week. Don't forget, the Spanish Inquisition was the purity of blood, and that's what it's all about. This is the Black News Network with War Smith Bay from the desk of the emissary. The real news, or the real voice of Black U.S.A. Broadcasting the news from a local, state, and federal level. We don't own the rights to the music, but we do own the rights to what we say. I would like to say thank you for listening. Thank you for exploring. Thank you for wanting to learn more about yourself and your culture. And thank you for supporting the Black News Network. Join me again Sunday at 3:30 p.m. live with an in-depth broadcast with more details about the items we talked about today. With that, don't forget, subscribe to us on YouTube and like us on Facebook. Thank you.